Well, good afternoon, everybody, or maybe even good evening and even good morning. This is Ron Wheeler. It's a pleasure to have all you with us today. I opened the room, I kind of started the seminar, if you will, whatever you want to call it, a little bit early, mainly because I always want to make sure that everything is working. My microphone, my screen. So do me a favor. If you can see my screen, it says the options paycheck, check number 1500, and you can hear my voice, do me two favors. Number one, tell me you can in the chat window. And then two, while you're telling me that you can hear me okay, let me know where you're from. I'm always curious to see where we're from and where we're broadcasting to and all that good fun stuff. I'll start with it. I'm actually from my home office here in Ohio, just a little south of Cleveland in the suburbs. So VectorVest, if you know, has offices in both North Carolina and Ohio. My colleagues that are here with me today, they're in the North Carolina office. I'm in the Ohio office. So now you know where to attack us at. Just kidding, right? So anyway, let's take a look here. I just want to make sure that everything is working, and it is. Looks good. Lots of people are saying good deal. John, you're the first one I see from Maryland. Welcome to you. And let me spread this all out. All right, good deal. Ottawa, Phil, welcome. Northeast Ohio, David, welcome. I'm in Northeast Ohio too, Medina to be specific. Loud and clear, Florida. John, welcome to you. Jay from Seaside, Oregon, great. Richmond Hill, Ontario, welcome. Adrian. David, Ontario. New Albany, Ed, welcome to you. New Albany, I know that town very well. And the fence. And the fences, I should say. I went to school down there, so I'm kind of familiar with that area big time. Merrimack, New Hampshire, welcome. Yep, hey, Medina, that's it. Okay, in Ontario, excellent, Paul. Good to have you. West Coast of Canada, Charlotte. Oh, nice. Yeah, so you, William, you know exactly where I am. All right, good deal. Carlo, Milano, Italy. Welcome to you. I've been there before. Very beautiful city. Walter, good to have you with us from Waterford, Connecticut. And let's take a look. Dan, Keller, Texas. Good to have you with us. Sam, Cincinnati. Welcome to you. And if you're a football fan, you got to be happy with yesterday, right? That was a thumping on the Ravens. And if you're not a football fan, well, still be happy anyway. All right, now, Steve in Kansas, welcome to you. All right, good. It looks like all of our tech stuff is working, which is a good start. So hopefully, now that I know you can hear me, you are excited because today's going to be a great webinar. I'm really excited to share some of these income trading secrets with you. So hopefully you're excited as well. It's a good time, by the way. I always like to bring that chat box into play, mainly because there's going to be a couple things. Number one, if you have questions during the class, chat box is the way you do it, right? During the class, I'm going to be focusing more on the presentation. I'm going to have my colleagues in the background answering questions. At the end of the formal presentation, usually takes around an hour or so, we'll have a Q&A session when it's all said and done. Again, you can type your questions in the chat window. And during the class, there's a couple of slides where I like to ask for some feedback and we kind of interact with each other. So this chat window is how we're going to do it. So it's always nice to know where that is before it actually starts. And then, Don, Guatemala, welcome to you. Got quite a few folks from outside the U.S. I really, really like that. You know, it's kind of fun because I used to do these type of classes in hotels and all over the country. And, you know, it was good. I had a great time doing it. I really, really did. Except now I'm married and have 3 kids under 5 years old, and my wife would really be angry if I was out traveling 200 days a year. So it works out well. The revolution of online classes worked very well in my life. I had a great time in my late 20s and 30s traveling all over the world. It was good times. I got to see a lot. You know, I always tell my wife, and she's so jealous. I'm like, you know, back there used to be like top 10 restaurants in the world. I'm like, I ate at like 8 of them. You know, it was good times. But it's nice to be sitting here in my office here in Ohio and broadcasting out to all those cities that I used to have to fly out to go to. So definitely nice in the way of technology for sure. All right, James, suburb of Pittsburgh, welcome to you as well. Good to have all of you. And I think I know I didn't send everybody a hello. I'm sorry about that. I know I always miss a few of you. So it always happens when they start flying by. But don't think don't love you or anything. All right, it is 4:30 Eastern time, so give me a second or two to get things organized and we'll get started. All right, let's officially get started. Welcome to today's webinar. It is called the Options Paycheck. In today's webinar, I'll be showing you the breakthrough system we developed here at VectorVest to generate safe monthly income in any market. Now, the information I'm going to share with you today has really changed my life, and I've seen it change the lives of a lot of people. So hopefully you're excited as well. I have a promise to you, and it's simply this. In this webinar, you're going to get the ground floor of how to begin making a paycheck of over $3,000 a month. Now, here's the important part of that. That is based on the fact that most of our clients are generating, on average, 3% per month from our most basic income strategy. Now, keep in mind that 3% average per month comes regardless of market direction, little to no prior experience in the market, doing it safer than simply buying or selling stocks. And here's the beauty. You can make money even if your analysis is wrong. That's the key point right there. Now, I know 3% may sound too good to be true, but the truth is a lot of our clients are doing even better than this. In today's webinar, I'm going to show you the exact system I use to generate these types of returns. I'm going to show you case studies and examples of our clients who are doing this month in and month out. And I'm going to show you our system so that if you learn and follow our strategy, you can do the same. I'm also going to prove to you that our options paycheck system will get better returns, safer than trading stocks or options alone. Now, since I'm in the time of prove it, I want to share a post with you that was on our Facebook forum by one of our clients, Bobby. He said, and I'll kind of zoom in as I go through, couldn't help but notice on today's webinar a general angst with the system lately. The reason why there was a little bit of angst is because the market at that point had topped and we had started to move the other direction, so people get a little bit weary when that happens. I wanted to post this as encouragement for what it's worth and genuine thanks to Ron. I couldn't be more happy with the system and the results charted below. Since he took the Paycheck course just over a year ago, he made a 20% return on an initial $150,000 portfolio. 88% win rate on 174 trades, which I'm impressed with, quite frankly. The reason why I'm impressed with that is he did that while he was working 80 hours a week, keeping a 10 franchise learning center business from collapsing due to the past year. Okay, trading less than 30% of the size of positions that he should. Basically, he was risking a lot less money than he could have been. So he was only risking a very small portion, way below what we normally would. And oh yeah, keeping a couple of young teens on track. I know there's many others and far better success stories scattered throughout the page, and maybe my challenges aren't that different from any of yours. They're very similar to all of our challenges. Still, I hope this will encourage some who might be feeling doubt. For me, it's been fantastic, all the wins and losses, and I can't wait to get out from the day-to-day of my business in order to do more Paycheck and other VectorVest strategies more full-time and really make some serious income. Even if I really just suck at this and keep sucking as bad as the past year. 20% return, right? Yeah, not too. He's doing pretty darn good. So thanks, Ron Wheeler. Best 900 I ever spent. And thank you to all the regulars in the group. That's another nice thing about what we do is we have groups like this that kind of work with each other. If I ever learn to be half as market trading savvy as you, well, I can't even imagine. Well, he's doing pretty darn good. This is his chart of his gains since he started. From March 2020, you can kind of see the evolution of his gains, okay? And you're seeing this right here, basically always having pretty good success. He had some drawdown here, which is normal. Market rallied. He had a little bit of drawdown at the beginning of the year, and then he's just continuing going higher and higher and higher. And that's what we hope to make. That's the idea behind what we're supposed to be doing here, okay? Now, Costco, this is what he has done, and this is the basis of what we do for income. Costco has a good-looking chart, right? Prices rising, good earnings, everything looks great. The problem is over the next 2 weeks, Costco only went up about 1.5%. Not a huge move over about 2.5 to 3 weeks, right? It's stalled. But what we're going to teach you with our options paycheck system, even with that 1.4% move, we can still make our full profits, like Frank did. Frank posted on our paycheck group that he made $955 on the Costco trade. Now imagine having several of those trades on each month. Now, will there be losing trades? Absolutely there's going to be losing trades. But with this paycheck system, over the past decade, we've averaged over 70% winning trades. And that's what results in that consistent net income. So I'm going to show you the trade more specific to do that this afternoon. So if they're learning how to do that sounds good, now's a great time to turn off your distractions, close your door, turn off your cell phone. Just don't multitask. I don't want you to lose focus or not see a detail here, okay? This is something that can really change how you live and how you're retired. Now again, my name is Ron Wheeler and I'm the Options Income Coach here at VectorVest. This is my 24th year of being a trader. I started with futures and commodities, and for the last 15 years I've really focused on options. Now, when I first started trading, I, like a lot of investors, had no success at all. I couldn't figure out how to be right or wrong. If I bought the market, it might go down. If I sold the market, it might go up. Now, I had the privilege of working with some of the greatest traders in the country, and it still took me about a year and a half to figure this out, right? One of the reasons why a lot of investors fail is because there's a lot of moving parts to being an investor. Number one, like we talked about, you've got to figure out how to get direction on a market. Is the stock going to go up? Is the stock going to go down? If you buy it, it's got to go up or you don't make money. If you sell it, it's got to go down or you don't make money. Then what we have to worry about is the money management. You can be 80% right on all your trades, but if you're making $100 every time you win and $1,000 every time you lose, you're going to have problems. So you got to learn that money management, the portfolio management. It's a lot of moving parts, right? That's why a lot of people fail. Now, a big turning point for my trading came when one of our clients, who was an options trader, he managed options for a mid-sized hedge fund, about $600 million, came to our office and kind of talked to us. And he's like, hey, Ron, you talk to me all the time. This is the information that you give me. This is what I do with that information. This is the trade that I make. So we both set up trades. I can't remember what it was. I want to say it was a commodity at the time, like corn. He's like, you're going to buy corn. I'm going to do this option trade on corn. Now, if I'm right, I make money. If you're right, you make money. But here's the difference. If corn goes sideways, I still win. If corn goes down, I still win. He's like, and the cool thing is, I do this on stocks as well. I do it on everything. So that really piqued my interest in options trading. And, I had started to look at options a little bit more seriously. And then finally, a couple of years later, I decided to switch to options primarily because they are so much easier to make money on. Everything is perfect with options. You can control your risk better. You don't have to be right on direction. Think of how easy that is as an investor. You are taking the big two stumbling blocks away. So, to get you to that place that I got to, we're going to cover a few things today. Number one is a big strategic shift. This is how you're going to generate income safely from the market, a strategic shift that you're going to have to make. We're going to talk about how to do this with less risk, and then also how to win even if you're wrong. You think a stock's going to go up, it doesn't, you still win. And then I'm going to kind of wrap it up to show you the concepts of a bulletproof system that I use in as little as 15 minutes a day to make this work. Now, stay tuned till the end. I really want you to stick around because I do have a checklist that we will offer you. This is going to help you plan trades out like we're talking about. So it's a PDF. We'll put it right in the handout section of the GoToWebinar. I'll drop it right in there. So just click on it, print it. But do me a favor, remind me when we get to the end because oftentimes I'm so into this I forget to do it and I need to be reminded of it. Now, why is this important? To understand why it's important, I'll ask you a question. You don't have to respond, just think about it. Why do we work in the first place? Now, if you surveyed 100 people and asked them why they go to work in the first place, you might get a bunch of responses, like maybe it's a contribution, it's a sense of achievement, it gives us purpose. But I guarantee the overwhelming answer to this question would be for the paycheck. The paycheck enables us to live hopefully pretty well today and put enough away for the future so one day we won't have to go to work. But the hard truth is that without a system that helps you generate the income you need, you're stuck trading your time, your life, for money. In other words, without an income system, it's on you. And this creates a number of problems for us. If we aren't retired, it keeps us stuck in a situation where we have to work in order to live. And that means we're trading time for money. Now, whether you got a lot of money or no money at all, finances are one of the leading causes of stress. Worrying about whether you'll have enough or if you're going to run out, that has a big impact on your life, your health, even your relationship. So in other words, we can't stop until we have enough, but we don't really know what enough is. So we keep working to get enough. It's just like that hamster on the wheel. We're taught to work for some future event called retirement when we can finally stop working so hard and enjoy ourselves. Now, in my opinion, working to save enough for retirement on its own, it's not the best approach. Because if you're already retired, you might be watching that savings get depleted faster than you can fill it. And if things don't improve, you fear that you're going to have to give up on investing and go back to work. Or the worst case scenario is you'll run out of money during retirement, or your standard of living will drop and you can't live that lifestyle you want. But with a system that helps you generate income, things are a lot different. And I think this is probably one of the most important points of the webinar. So pay close attention here and write down what I'm about to say. In order to be financially free, our main need is income. And this is why most of us spend the majority of our lives working for a paycheck. However, in order to become financially free, you need to learn to generate enough income from your investments to cover your expenses and lifestyle needs. So let me say that again. In order to become financially free, you need to learn to generate income from your investments. Income enough to cover your expenses and lifestyle needs. Now, whether you're still working like me or retired, the ability to generate income from your investments is one of the most empowering skill sets you have. Now, let me be clear about this. I'm not suggesting you take our course and then go quit your day job. But when you have the ability to generate income from your investments, your life will change. If you're still working, you can increase your earning capacity. It's like having a second job. My wife and I have 3 incomes, basically. If you're retired, you can have that consistent source of income like you quit your job, but that paycheck is still paying you. It's like a tap you can turn on whenever you want. That's going to allow you to do the things you want to do now and when you retire. And that's why today's information is vitally important. When you've got a system to help you generate income, it can help you retire sooner. And when you're retired or you're working, it can help you live a wealthier life without depleting your nest egg. So as I said before, and I'll say it one last time here, this is the most important part of the presentation. When the income from our investments exceeds our living expenses, we become financially free or have the ability to retire. Learning how to generate income, in my opinion, is the most important thing that you can learn. We work to generate income. When can we stop? When the income from our investments is enough for us to live. And you'd be surprised how little you need to get started. One of our best stories is Brian. Brian's a client of ours who's a great example of how easy you could become proficient at drawing an income, even if you don't have a lot to invest with. Brian had some health issues and he wanted to supplement his income. By using the options paycheck system, he was able to generate $23,000 in profit, starting with just $6,000. And he did that in 10 months, and he had 31 out of 31 trades. That means 100% trades, 31 for 31. Now, the key point here is this, as you're going to see, is not beginner's luck. It was the result of following the system. Okay? Now, that system and the way that you need to do this to take control of your returns, this is that strategic mindset shift I was referring to. This is why it's live, right? I would never stutter like that in a recorded session. You're either going to continue being the gambler where you lose more than you win, or you're going to become an option seller and win more than you lose. Being an option seller is the way you can make consistent income each month and allow you to win even when you're wrong. Now, why do you want to be the casino or the house? 2 things. Number 1, the house always wins. And number 2, the house always wins very easily because it controls and stacks probability in its favor. The options paycheck system is built around you stacking the odds massively in your favor. So make a note of this. In order to control your returns and results, you need to know how to stack probability in your favor. The house always wins because that's what they do. So the obvious question is, how do you do it? The first step, again, is to shift from being the buyer of options to being the seller. So let me explain. Bruce is a great example of shifting from gambling on stocks to being the casino and controlling and stacking probability. Prior to working with us, he had mainly taken stock tips from brokers. He focused on our S&P income system, which is our basic trading system. As he said, he's not the most technical in the world, But in the time he's been working with us, he grew his account from $100,000 to $497,000 in 3.5 years. He's achieving a 74% win rate simply by following the rules of the options paycheck system. And again, this is all his words. And the whole system takes him around 15 minutes a day. So let me show you how this works. This is an example of a typical trade you've been taught to make. You find a stock you like. Let me bring up my laser pointer here. You find a stock that you like, right? So you go out there and you buy 100 shares of stock. Or maybe you buy a call, right? Because a call option means you want the stock to go up. Well, what happens? The stock does something like this, right? It doesn't go up. It doesn't go up enough, or it goes up way farther out than you wanted it to. And the call that you ended up buying expires worthless. Or you bought the stock and you stayed in it for 4 months and ended up losing money. Okay? Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to all of us. Now, what's the problem causing you to lose here? A lot of people feel that maybe they just picked the wrong stock. They got to go back to the drawing board, figure out a way to pick stocks better. Maybe as an option trader, they picked the wrong strike price. Or as an option trader, maybe they picked the wrong expiration date, right? But here's the real problem. If you've been losing money or had more losers than winners with other systems, it's not your fault. That's because most of the systems on this planet teach you to be on the wrong side of the trade. You're taught to buy an option. But as a buyer, the probabilities are not on your side. And for most people, they end up buying and losing, buying and losing, buying and losing, right? If you want to break that, our options paycheck system teaches you a new way of thinking. You need to be a seller and not a buyer. This is how you get ahead of everyone else. This is how you put probability on your side. It's how you win even if you're wrong. So let's take a closer look at selling options. I want to explain how this goes. A typical trade as a buyer gives you a 50-50 probability, right? Because when you buy something, the only way you make money is if the stock goes up. Now, what we're going to do, instead of having a buyer's mentality, we are going to have a seller's mentality. Probability says the stock won't go lower than here. We're going to set up the trade strategically using probability. Okay? Now, what this does is it flips the odds in your favor. You are essentially doing this. The stock is at $203 a share. You are picking a point right here at $195, and now you are saying, as long as the stock stays above there, I can win. Okay? You've now increased it from a 50-50 chance to about a 60-40 chance, because now the stock can go sideways, you're still in the green, and you win. The stock can go down. As long as it stays above 195, you can win. And if the stock goes lower than 195, you take a small proportional loss. Now, sometimes when things are really good, we can even sell options farther out. I can go down to 190 in this case. Now think about it. This is like seeing a stock that went from 100 to 200 and you looking at that thing and saying, dang, I wish I was in that from like 160. This is the kind of the way you do that, right? You're getting into a stock, setting your win point way lower than the stock actually is. So now, as long as the stock stays in the green, you're in the green. You make money. If it goes up, you win. If it goes side, you win. If it goes down, as long as it stays in this green area, you win. And if it goes lower than that, you take a small proportional loss. Okay? 70% probability in this case. Now, as a seller, you're putting the probability of success in your favor, and that's why I call this an income trade. To me, an income trade is one where you can make money even if you're wrong on direction. Now, I want to bring up another client of mine, Mike. Mike is somebody who dabbled with options, self-taught, but he lost on each trade. Have you ever been there? Can you imagine how frustrating that is to lose on each of your trades? Well, like a lot of good traders, he eventually gave up on options for a little while and then kind of came back to it a little bit because he wanted to master it, right? After studying more, after doing research, he still didn't feel comfortable because he knew all this options information, but he didn't have a set criteria for trading. So Mike and I worked together. I taught him the options paycheck system of being an option seller, and he immediately became an income machine. After he learned the system, he went out and said he had 17 out of 19 winning trades, and he made over 12 grand in 4 months. The key lesson here, like you saw with Mike or see with Mike or even Brian or even Bruce, implementing the system of being an option seller immediately flipped the switch. Mike was proud. He even sent me his spreadsheet of his trades. Couple things I want you to know. Number one, look at the profits compared to the losses, right? Every time there's a profit, that's a winning trade. Every time there's a loss, there's a loser. Now, I also want you to look at the work days to close. 7 days, 5, 4, 2, 7, 7, 10, 7, 10. At the average here, he's making about $1,000 every 7 to 10 days. Okay? This is typical. In fact, our most basic system, which just trades the S&P 500, has averaged over 85% winners. I think I'm on a 7-trade winning streak right now with the S&P. I was doing some bearish trades. Now I'm doing some bullish trades. You're placing trades that have a very high probability of winning. So again, I want you to go back to that core belief here. No more being the gambler who loses. We're going to be the casino where we stack odds in our favor. Let me use a baseball analogy here, right? Home runs look good. You know, if you open up stocks and commodities or read IBD or Google options, you're going to get pelted with all these things about make 3,000%, 2,000%, right? There's like one trade a year where that might happen. The income trader doesn't look for the home runs. We are the guys that hit singles. We're the ones that get on base a lot. When you get on base a lot, you score a lot of runs. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be that shortstop that hits 360 instead of being the home run hitter that hits 200 and strikes out 150 times. We want to be the average people, always on base. Maybe hitting a double every now, maybe a triple, but maybe only hit 3 home runs a year. That's a good baseball analogy for what we're going to do. Now, you've seen so far 3 examples, right? Bruce, Brian, Mike. By flipping from the buyer to seller, you stack odds significantly in your favor. You also saw it from the graph I showed you earlier. Now we're going to stack the odds even more in your favor by understanding and capitalizing on the 3 most common buyers or gamblers' mistakes. Mistake number 1 that option buyers do is they choose unrealistic strike prices. They choose strikes that are so far away, the stock has no chance of hitting it. So if you buy a call on a stock like this, right? A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll see the stock at 216. They'll go way up here to like $230 and they'll buy a call. Why do they do it? Well, many buyers treat options like lottery tickets, right? Well, Ron, it's only $5 and I have a chance to win $200 million. That's like the lottery, right? Mega Millions, right? Well, most of the time they're going to lose. All right? They're setting themselves up for disaster. They will not win unless the stock goes up like $15 a share. What we're going to do is see those options out there, see people buying them, and we are going to be the sellers. Since they're out there buying those options, we will facilitate them and we will sell it to them. Why? Because the chance of this stock hitting $230 is very, very small. The buyer will not make money most of the time. We as a seller will. We have a high probability of winning. And the same thing goes for puts overall, right? Some people buy puts way below the market. Maybe they buy it because they think the stock's going to go down. Maybe it's a stock holder who wants to buy some cheap insurance. It doesn't matter why they do it. There will always be buyers out there buying these options. We will facilitate that need and we will sell it to them. Because when we do, we are giving ourselves a built-in 60 to 90% chance of success on these trades. Okay? Now, the second mistake that buyers make is they choose expirations that are way too close, right? It's like going to the supermarket and seeing a piece of meat that expires today. Listen, if you go home and cook it that night, you got a great deal. But if you're just going to put it in your refrigerator for 2 or 3 days, it's going to rot. That cheap meat, you just throw it away at this point, right? Options are like cheap meat. What happens to an option is they decay in price over time. What you're seeing on this time decay graph is how option time premium decreases and it gets exponential decreases towards expiration. Okay? What you're noticing here is 6 months from expiration to zero, about 135 days into the option's life, it loses 50% of its value. In the remaining 45 days, it loses the other 50%. That last 45 days of an option's life, the time decay becomes exponential. Okay, it's basically at 4 times the rate as it was before. Now, how does this affect you as an option buyer? Take a look at Home Depot, right? Home Depot is a great stock. I actually got profitable on a Home Depot trade today, made 400 bucks. Home Depot, let's pretend on March 2017 you think the stock is going to go up. What a lot of option buyers do is they'll basically go out and maybe buy an option a couple weeks away, right? And if you look, the stock goes up a little bit, maybe from like 146 to like 150, right? But the problem is the option is decaying exponentially. So even though you've got direction right, the time value of your option is withering away. It's wiping out any gain that you would have made on the stock. Even if you go out a little bit farther, it doesn't matter because that decay is becoming exponential. As an option buyer, this is causing you to lose money. As an option seller, this works in my favor and I am making money. Okay? We are going to be the casino. We're going to be selling these options to these gamblers. It works in our favor. Now, the third one's a very important one, and a lot of people don't understand or recognize this one. Buyers pay too much for options. They buy what's called overpriced options. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. You have 2 stocks, both around $76.30 a share. So very similar price. I'm looking at the exact same call, a $75 call with the exact same expiration. The stock on the left has a $900 option premium. The stock on the right has a $180 option premium. Same strike, same stock price, same length expiration. The difference, over on the left, that option has high volatility. Okay? Now who cares, right? Ron, I got a lot of money. I can trade that option. It doesn't make a difference. It's a very small risk. I get it, right? I get it. But let's take a look at the nuts and bolts here. Let's pretend that each stock goes up $8 a share. That's really simple math. If you bought 100 shares of each of those stocks, you would make $800 on each stock. But you're an options buyer, so you want to take advantage of the leverage of options. So you buy that call on the left and you buy that call over on the right. I want you to see the difference in results. Over on the left, you actually would have lost money. You didn't make any money. The stock went up $8 a share. You got direction right, but you lost money. Whereas over on the right, you got like a 350% return on your investment, right? You put up $180 and you're up $720 on that trade. You got everything right, except you overpaid for the option on the left. Now, what we're going to do as option sellers, we are going to search out these guys and we are going to sell them. The more expensive an option is, the least amount of risk that we have in that trade. Okay? As an option seller, we can be wrong on direction and still make money. Again, it's all about stacking probability on your side. And in this case, when we find those overpriced ones, we can stack it even more in our favor. Now, Bob has one of the most interesting stories I've seen. Prior to working with us, Bob was making a bunch of the mistakes that we talk about here, and it cost him dearly. In fact, he said he either ended up broke or bankrupt 3 times. So in his own words, he said he came close to living under a bridge. Now, the options paycheck system helped Bob turn his situation around in as little as 4 months. He learned to turn those mistake liabilities into strategies to control and stack probability. He said in 4 months, he grew his account by 71% and achieved a 79% winning trade percentage. Remember, in order to do this, you've got to know how to control and stack probability in your favor. Now, let me turn it over to you guys. In the chat window, I want you to share with me. Have any of you ever made these buyer's mistakes? I'm going to take a little drink of water, then I'm going to read some. Whew. I didn't take a drink of water. I took a drink of Diet Dr. Pepper, which has been sitting in my office for like a year. I think. Because, woo, was that flat. All right. Yes, all of them, Tom. John, yes. Bill, I guess, yes, of course, I made some of them. Yep, all. David, never did. Well, then you were trained properly or you haven't traded yet. John, overpriced options. Perry, some of those. Never bought an option, Peter, only did spreads. Way to go. That's the kind of way I like to see it. Of course, Len, can't stop doing it. We got to get that. We got to get that out of you, my friend. Desan, yes. Listen, we've all done it. The reason why I know that these are mistakes is because I've done them too. All right? Now you know you need to be an option seller, right? If you want to get those results, you got to do this as an option seller. But the next thing we need to look at is how to trade with very little risk. When a lot of people hear the word options, and especially the term selling options, they think it's very risky. But the options paycheck system uses a low-risk strategy for selling options, and this is why it's a core strategy that we actually teach our retirees. And reducing risk is important because many people who try this on their own without the options paycheck system, they see things like this. Ron, I did this last year. I made 15 winning trades. One trade came and wiped out all my wins. Okay? You can't have that. That's not a consistent way to make money. I've never had this happen to me. Okay? Not because I'm some expert, well, I kind of think I am, but it's because I would never take a trade where that's possible. The system teaches you how to manage risk because even if you're very accurate, if you have those trades, it's hard to recover losses once you're down, right? It takes years to overcome those kinds of devastating losses, but it's not hard to prevent them. You just need to have a built-in protection plan. When you have the right system in place, you take care of this risk up front. Remember how I told you I would never take a trade that has that kind of a risk profile? You will know what the risk profile is before you place the trade. And that lets you focus on one of your primary jobs, which is to preserve your capital. If you can preserve your capital, it's much easier to grow it. Okay? Like I said earlier, those home runs might look good, but singles are how we win the games. Now, one of the most common questions we get asked is, can I do this in an IRA? A client of ours, John, he actually did this in his IRA. He grew his IRA over 112% in 1 year using the paycheck system. He tried and struggled with trading for a long time before working with us. He learned to follow the system and turned his inconsistent results into predictable monthly income. He said in 12 months he enjoyed 85% winning trades and more than double the size of his IRA while spending no more than 15 minutes per day on his trading. So let's look at this a little bit closer. The options paycheck system makes sure that you reduce your risk before you enter the trade. Number one, we choose low risk stocks. We have a very specific criteria, but in general, if you're bullish, you want to make sure that the stocks are already rising in price, similar to what you would see here. Then, instead of selling a naked option, we're going to sell with protection. So let me show you how to do that. Traditional option selling systems leave you with all of this risk, right? If the stock took a sudden turn and went down $15 a share, your $200 winning trade may be a $5,000 loss. We can't have that. You cannot be consistent doing that kind of stuff. What we're going to do is shrink the risk down to this. So let me show you how we do it. Again, graph of a beautiful stock that we'd be bullish on, right? If you want to be bullish on this stock, what do? You go out there and buy 100 shares of the stock. Or maybe you use the current stock price as your strike price and you buy a call option. But what we're going to be doing now is we are going to be the seller. No more buying. So here's what you're going to do. You are going to use probability and strategically select the price. In this case, it's 135. And in a bullish market, we are going to sell a put. All right? When you sell the put, you receive what's called a premium. Basically, you're getting paid. So in this example, you get paid $200 by selling that 135 put. If you sold 10 of them, you would get paid $2,000. Now that's great, right? The downside here is this. If one day comes in and the stock goes all the way down to 110, you just suffered a catastrophic loss. It's like owning a house when you're paycheck to paycheck and you don't have insurance. Tornado comes, wipes out your house. Now you got serious problems. So what do we do to prevent that? What do we do to prevent that with our house? What do we do? Here's what we do. We choose a lower priced put and we buy an insurance policy. By buying that insurance policy, it protects us in the case of a huge disaster. I'm going to use $100 in this case to buy an insurance policy. Now, if the stock drops tremendously, I have disaster insurance, which will allow me to limit the risk of this trade to only $5. That's it. That's all I can lose. It's maxed out right there. The stock can go to zero, and I've limited my risk. Now, you still get paid to place the trade. You're going to get paid $100 to place this trade. If you did it on 10 contracts, you get paid $1,000. Now, what does this do? Number one, think about what our underlying goal here was. We think the stock is going to move up. If it moves up, we profit. If it moves sideways, we profit. If it goes down, we still have room to profit here. Okay? The key is, as long as the stock stays above 135, we can profit. If the stock drops below 135, we will take a proportional loss. All right? So, I want to do an example here. I want to get you guys involved. These are some trades that I did with my clients in the past, and I want to kind of show you these to get a better understanding of how these are setting up. So I'm going to be showing you some numbers now, so pay attention because I'm going to be asking for some feedback here. Now, this was a trade I did earlier this year on Goldman Sachs. I was very bullish on Goldman Sachs. It had previously broken the high. Goldman Sachs was trading for around $310. Now remember, if you just go out and buy Goldman Sachs or buy a call, the only way you can make money is if the stock goes up. All right? Now, I'm going to tell you a few things. Number one, my goal is to sell an option that gives me a base 60% chance of success. Okay? Now, when I say that, the reason I tell you that is because I want you guys to understand something. Probability can be a very seductive thing. If I buy right here, I have a 50-50 chance of success. If I were to sell right here, I might have a 70% chance of success. If I go out and sell an option down here, I may have a 90% chance of success. And I'm sorry for all my little chicken scratch here. All right. Now, as with anything in life, there is a give and a take. There's a true and a false, a yin and a yang, right? Because I will tell you this, who in their right mind would not like to take a trade that has a 90% probability? I think it's great. Here's the catch though. If you take the trade and you say as long as the stock stays up above 270, right, I can make money. Every winning trade, you might only make $100. But when you lose, it might cost you $2,000. Okay? I want you to think about that. You take 9 winning trades and you make $900. You take a loser and it costs you $2,000. That's the problem with probability. Too much probability is not a good thing. You have to compromise. Okay? Now at 70% probability, I might have a situation where I might make $300. I'm just making up numbers here. But to do it, I only risk, let's say, $400. Okay? On 7 winning trades, you're going to make $2,100. On the 3 losers, you're going to lose $1,200. Okay? This is the idea of balancing probability. So, I want you guys to take a guess. Where do you think what price do you guys think has that right probability and then also might have some decent risk reward? When I did Goldman Sachs, do you think I sold it at 305? Did I do 300, 295, 290, 285, 280, 275? The reason I'm doing this exercise with you is because I want you to understand that, you can't just go out there and choose a $265 option down here and expect to make money. Yes, it looks good, but you're going to have those disastrous trades. All right, so I see 305, 300, 295, 275, some way down at 250, which again, hopefully that was before I made the explanation. 295, 290. Now remember, this is a bullish market, so in bullish markets we sell puts. 300, 300, John, Matt, Mike, 290, 290, 295, 385, 385, 295. Bernard, you're giving me a full trade at 305, 300. I like it. 295, 300, 300. Well, guess what? Those of you guys that were in and around, and ladies that were in and around 300, you win. That is where everything worked out perfect. It gave me a base 70% expectation of wins, and the risk on the trade outweighed, or I should say the reward of the trade outweighed the risk. Now, I did this trade earlier this year with 5 contracts. I was paid $785. What happened to that trade? In 8 days, the stock went up. Now, here's what you have to understand about doing these trades, okay? It's a little bit different than what you might expect. I entered the trade on February 16th, and I got paid $1.57 times 5 contracts, 157 times 5 contracts, okay? I exited the trade on February 24th at 79 cents. Now, as a seller, you have to get used to this mindset shift, right? When you enter a trade, you're going to be entering the trade for a high price, and you're going to be exiting the trade at a low price. So the transaction behind this is this. When I entered the trade, I got paid $157. When I exited the trade, I paid my broker $79. I keep the difference. Okay? That's 390% or $390 in 8 days. Now, that is a 9.3% return. Okay? So what that means is if I had to put up $1,000 to take that trade, I just made $93. Okay? Now, don't get freaked out when I say putting up $1,000 to take the trade. That's not the risk. That's just the margin. That's what the broker would want for me to be able to take the trade. Now, here's another example. This one is timely. Tesla. I actually ordered a Tesla before the weekend. I got in before the price increases. Yay! Okay? I've always wanted one, and now's the right time to buy it. So Tesla, this is actually from late last year. Tesla was in a nice uptrend, and it broke above the prior resistance. Using what you know about what we learned about Goldman Sachs, let me tell you, or let me ask you this, sorry. Tesla was at 525. Where do you think that 70% probability and the good mix of risk reward lies? Do you think I can go all the way back to like, I don't know, $400 somewhere down there? Or would it have to be somewhere around 475? Would it have to be 500? I want you to understand the realistic value of this, okay? One of the reasons that a lot of option sellers fail is because they immediately say, I'm going to go right down here and give myself 90% chance to make money, but every time they have a losing trade, it wipes out 25 winners. Can't make money that way, okay? All right, 475 Steve, 495 Bill, 460 Matt. So a lot of the early results are right in this area, which is good. 490, 495, so still right around that area. Jane, you said 460, 495, 450 John, 495, 450 David, 490 Carlo, 475 Troy and Paul, 500 Antonio, 475 Perry, 505, 490 John. John's putting a spread together, which he's buying his insurance too, which is awesome. That means you're kind of getting the hang of this too, or you've done this before, which is even better. All right, so here's where the trade actually occurred for me. That congruence or confluence of say, okay, hang on a second, I gotta erase all my, I'm getting confused here. There we go. I was having my cursor being weird. That trade was done at 485 and 480. So the stock was at 525. As long as it stayed above $485, I was able to make money. Now, here's that trade in my brokerage software. On November 23rd, I entered the trade and I got paid $195 times 8 contracts. I exited the trade 2 days later at 85 cents. So I got to keep $110 times 8 contracts, or $880 in 2 days. The stock only went up 7%. So it was a very small move on the stock. but I got a 36% return on my investment over those 2 days. Now, this is exactly what Jim did. Another client I worked with. Now, prior to working with me, he told me his results were inconsistent and he felt unsatisfied. He kept thinking there had to be something else out there that was better. You ever feel that way, like there's something more out there? Jim said he wanted a way to supplement what he was doing that would provide more of a regular income, but also had a high probability of success. Now, after the learning a system of being an option seller, he told me he had 21 winners in a row, and he returned about 76% in 8 months, and the average trade only lasted 8 days. Can you imagine how that must feel to go from being inconsistent to where all of your trades are generating income? Think of these guys we've talked to. Now, Jim, Mike, Bruce, Brian, all these guys, if you were able to implement the system, get the results that they and others have been able to do, how would that change your life? What would this system allow you to do? Do me a favor. I want you to think of this in your head. What would the positive effects of this system allow you to do in your life? Retire early, travel more. Tell me, start getting yourself into that mentality of you can do this. Tell me what that kind of an income system would do for you. Remodeling, David. Oh, David, I know that feeling, man. I just redid my basement, put new floors in. Oh, go to Disneyland, Len? Yeah, you'd probably have to have returns like Bruce to get Disneyland nowadays. Quit job, marry my girlfriend, Tony, or Troy. I love it. Okay? Pay off the mortgage, John. That's my goal. Buy an airplane. I love it, Bill. More traveling with internet connection, of course. Absolutely. I've got a couple clients, like Bruce goes down to Costa Rica and goes down there. Enjoy life, Joe. Exactly. Pay off student loans, right? For some of you younger folk out there, or for even some of you that aren't very young. Still can be a burden. Think of the positive aspects. Now, again, we said before that buying is gambling, selling is about controlling risk and putting the odds of success in your favor. Selling is the way to generate income. The options paycheck system makes sure that you have a guaranteed maximum risk. And again, I keep using that gambler casino analogy because the house or the casino always wins. This is the path to consistent income. Now, what I want to do is put this together into the bulletproof system, which you can do, and I'm telling this based off my clients, that you can do in as little as 15 minutes a day. And this is important because this is one of the big things that people ask me is how much time does it take to do it? Well, it's a great question. There's a challenge here. There's thousands of stocks. You got to know how to find the right stock with the right strategy. When do you get in? What expiration? What strike? What do you do if the trade goes against you? When do you get out of it? All that stuff. And there's so much information out there, you don't know what to use. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. You spend countless hours researching trades or going from guru to guru. Ultimately, you're trading blindly without a system. You're like a mouse that runs through a maze, bumping into wall after wall. You don't know where to go. You don't know where to look. It's stressful. It's disheartening. With the right system, though, you can identify good trades, get reliable income in as little as 15 minutes a day. But to do it, you need a system, and not just any system. You need a straight line system, a simple way to know when to place the trades, how to find them, how to set them up, and how to manage them. So let me walk you through the pieces of the options paycheck system and the order they go in. Now, no one else teaches option selling this way. It's like the secret sauce, right? There's 6 pieces. The top 5 build on each other, and the 6th ties them all together. At the top of the system is market direction. A lot of traders ignore this and just go out and place trades. You're going to be placing trades that are either bullish, bearish, or neutral based on the overall direction of the market. Here's a quick hint. All I'm doing right now are bullish trades. Why? Because the market's bullish right now. I don't look for bearish trades when the market's like this. I focus on one direction. Once I know the overall market direction, I now can look for bullish stocks. It has been said over and over again, the research is all there, that the majority of stocks follow the market direction. When you find and trade in the direction of the market, it stacks your probability even more. Now for the stocks, we break it down into 2 things. We look at fundamentals, things like earnings growth, sales growth. We also look at the actual trend. We pull up a graph. We look at a 1-year graph. We look at a 3-month graph. We're verifying that everything matches the direction of the market. The stock is moving in the right direction. That's how we choose our stocks. Now, once the stock meets the criteria, it's time for the option criteria, right? Earlier, what did I tell you about volatility? We want to separate out the stocks that have the highest volatility because the more premium that we collect, the lower risk we have in the trade. One of the biggest movers of stocks is earnings announcements. I don't like that. I avoid earnings. I don't want to trade near an earnings event because the stock has a tendency to move a lot. I don't want that. It can go up, it can go down. It doesn't matter. I keep away from it. I also make sure I'm using that expiration sweet spot. Now, then we get to the trade setup. The trade setup, this is where we factor in things like probability, right? I told you earlier I want to set my trades up with a base 70% probability. That is done by looking at the strike prices. Every strike price has a probability attached to it. The last thing I want to look for is risk and reward. Remember earlier I said, hey, you could have 90% probability, but every winning trade's 100 and every losing trade is 3,000? That's no bueno. That's no good. What I want to do, and I'll tell you guys this from my real life results, my average gain this year is about $350, and my average loss is right around that level. It might be around 355, 360, but my risk and my reward are right around the same. Okay? Risk and reward are right around the same. When you can get that 70%, boom, you can make money very easily. All right? Now, you also have to have a plan for managing and repairing. What do I mean by that? You have to know when to take profits. You have to know how you can repair the trade. Now, repairing is completely optional, but we can repair our trades to reduce losses if they go against us. We also need to know when to exit with a loss. This should all be known up front. I don't want you to be a deer in the headlight anymore, okay? I want you to know before you place the trade how to manage it. And then finally, I tie it all together with a tool for speed and efficiency. You don't want to be spending all day on the process. You want something that allows you to do these things quickly. It should be comfortable. Your brokerage software. Some brokerages are better than others. Thinkorswim's really good. IB's really good. Fidelity's really good. Some of them aren't as good, right? I like to use proprietary tools, paid tools from VectorVest and Options Pro. Now, Hugh is the next client I want to introduce you to. We talked about Mike and Jim, Bruce, Brian. They're getting results in about 15 minutes a day, and so is Hugh. He told me one of his biggest struggles was finding a system that was efficient and worked. Hugh was doing okay, but he was spending way too much time doing it. I taught him the Paycheck system. He found that proper balance. Okay? Are you like that? Do you spend too much time doing things you don't want to do and not enough time doing things you want to do? There comes a point where it doesn't matter how much money you're making if you're not having a good time or spending too much time doing it. Now that Hugh learned the Paycheck system, he said he has more confidence, more free time, and he can have more fun. In his first 43 trades, he had 38 winners and returned over $26,000 in 4 months. Now, do me a favor. I want you to take your pen. Don't write on your monitors, please. Put a little star next to the part of the system where you're really good. For example, if you know how to find a good list of stocks that are going the direction of the market, stock selection's a plus for you. Put a star there. But if you need to work on something or you're not quite sure what to do, let's say you don't know how to repair a trade, put a little frowny face there. Don't overthink it. Take about 10 seconds and give yourself a grade, star or frown. Now, I'm willing to bet that maybe 1 in 100 investors will ever know how to do this. Now, let me ask you, in the chat window again, get your keyboard ready. What areas do you need to work on? Where are your weaknesses? Share some examples with me. All right, all of them. Repair, Ralph, Steve, stock selection, trade setup, Bill, and Bernard. You guys both chimed in at the same. Glenn. The three of you guys both chimed in all at the same time with the same one. Repair, Mike, John, all of them. Another one of those. Trade management, repair, Ron. John, trade management, option selection, cutting losses, David. Stock selection and market direction, Perio. Antonio, repair. James, trade setup. Giuseppe, repair. John, trade setup. I'm reading off as many as I can, but I want to thank you for your responses, by the way. Now listen, we need to get it to where you have stars all the way down. And once you do that, then you will be able to generate income every month and do it in less than 15 minutes a day. So listen, I can't know your exact reason for coming to today's webinar, but I'm going to make a few guesses. Maybe you haven't really known what to do and you feel like you've been trading blindly, bumping into one wall into the next. It's leaving you with inconsistent results, just like Jim did before he learned the options paycheck system. Maybe you've been suffering through loss after loss, and those small losses are killing your portfolio. Maybe the money coming in just isn't exceeding the money going out. Maybe you're just not where you want to be. Now, today I showed you the secret to fixing that. And again, it's a secret that only 1 in 100 investors will really ever know, and now you're one of them. You saw how it's possible to win even when you're wrong as a seller, how you can do it with very little risk, even less risk than buying and selling stocks. And you saw the system to get consistent income every month. Now, I showed you just a few of our many people who use this system every day so they never have to worry about retirement again. You saw over and over the secret to generating consistent income is that shift from being the gambler to the casino. Now remember, you're going to be that one investor out of 100 who knows the secret. It means there's like 99 other people out there that are going to continue to do things wrong. They'll be buying options, making all the mistakes that we talked about. You can't stop them from doing it. There's always going to be those investors out there who will buy them incorrectly. Let them be the gamblers. As long as they're the gamblers, we're going to open the casino because the house always wins in the end. The option paycheck system teaches you how to stack probability of success in your favor. Just like Brian did, just like Bruce did, and Bob. Jim, from inconsistent to reliable income and 21 winners in a row. Hugh, more confidence, more free time, able to have more fun, 26 grand in 4 months. In 12 months, John grew his IRA 112% and had 85% winning trades, just like our other clients. So if you're like most people, you're wondering, well, how do I implement the options paycheck system in my portfolio? Well, you got a choice. Option number one is you can do absolutely nothing and stay exactly where you are right now. And if you already have enough to retire and you're not worried about running out of money, then maybe you don't need the paycheck system. But if you would like to make some extra income every month, that really leaves you with two other options. Option two is you can do it alone. You can try to learn how the option trades work, try to figure out direction, learn how to analyze the thousands of stocks, find the best ones to trade, hope you pick the right one, manage it correctly. If you're willing to work hard, spend hours in front of your computer, and you're okay with trial and error, you could pull it off. But make it easy. Let us show you how to do it. I'll walk you through each piece of the options paycheck system, and in just a few weeks, you'll have the simple system to follow, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So of those three options, ask yourself what's easier. Now, there's two types of people. The first person is somebody who dreams about their financial goals, but they never really take action or do anything to make it happen. Person number two is serious about their financial future. You're ready to take action when you see an opportunity. Since you're dedicated to be with me to this point, I'm willing to bet that you're person number two. That makes you the perfect candidate to get started on your first options paycheck. So let me tell you what we put together for you. First and foremost is our options paycheck course. It is a complete A to Z system designed to teach you the entire thing to generate income. Our clients who've taken this course average 3% per month. We've got guys like Bruce, guys like Brian who spend a little more time, maybe 15 minutes a day, and they're doing 5 to 15% with that same 70 plus success rate. It takes them less than an hour a week. Now, when I say it's a complete system, I mean it. It is a 7-module course. In the first module, we're going to build a strong option foundation. That way you know how calls and puts work so you can use them confidently in your trades. Modules 2 and 3, we're going to learn the core income trades that have that better than 70% success rate. Bullish trades, bearish trades, neutral trades. Now this is a big thing. In module 4, we're going to teach you market direction and how to find stocks. So not just a bunch of options theory. We are going to show you how to find stocks that this works for. Okay? In module 5, we're going to talk about maximizing the trade, making sure that you're getting paid top dollar, understanding how to maximize your reward, minimize your risk, maximize the opportunity in front of you. Module 6 is all about management. When do you get out with profits? When do you get out with a loss? What do you do to repair the trade if you want? And most importantly, we're going to teach you how to portfolio manage. How many contracts, how much risk should you have? All of that stuff that helps you preserve and grow your capital. You will no longer be a deer in the headlight. You will be prepared. And then finally, in Module 7, we're going to talk about broker side. Now, I can't show you how to use every single broker out there, but what I can do is I can teach you some of the basic brokerage terms. That way, when you go to your broker, you know exactly what to look for to place these trades properly. Now, what's been really helpful to a lot of our clients is everything in that 7 modules gets compacted into a checklist. When you're done with the course, you can follow this checklist line by line, and because this system is mechanical, it is objective, it's not subjective, you can follow every rule to the letter to help you with success. Okay? Now, before we talk about the price, let me make it even more low risk for you. This course has a 100% money back guarantee. Go through the 7 modules, attend it with us. Okay? We do it both recorded and 7 weeks live. If at the end you've done the assignments, you've watched the recordings, and actually tried, you don't have to place real trades, but tried to do this. If you're not satisfied, I'll give you a refund. But if you just buy the course and then don't do anything and say, Ron, I didn't have time, that's not going to work. I want you to make sure that you're actually giving this a shot, because I know if you do, the refund becomes irrelevant anyway. You will be happy with this course. Okay? I only want to attract people who are serious about getting these results. And those results, again, are averaging 3% per month. That's 36% per year. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do it. I got this great email from Joe in the fall of 2020. And the reason why I still have it in this one is because, 2020 was a very rough year with the coronavirus. But Joe took the class in 2019. And he started trading in 2020. He said, I took your class last fall and wanted you to know my results for 10 plus months. I keep a journal to document every trade. So far, I've profited on 239 trades out of the 350 days taken. He's getting a 68% win rate. So right around that 70%, which is what I like. He said he made over $100,000 in that time. What's more exciting is that since his knowledge and experience has grown, he's starting to really ratchet up his risk reward, and he's profited over $50,000 in the last 6 weeks. And one of the rougher trading years of our time, his success rates bumped up to 78%. In his last 100 trades, he's only taken trades with a 2 to 1 or better risk reward. I want to thank you again for teaching this simple but very effective system. Now, if I could go back and I made Joe a trade, I said, Joe, I will trade you 2,000 for 100,000. I think he would take that trade. I think anybody would take that trade. Let me get this straight, Ron. You're going to pay me 2,000. I'm going to pay you 2,000, but you're going to give me 100 grand back? Yeah, that's the trade. Okay? I'm going to make you a good trade too. Okay? Now, before I tell you any more about it, I want to point something out. Not a get-rich-quick scheme. Understand that, please. All right? It's not something where you should go out and quit your job tomorrow or expect to become a millionaire in the next 2 days. All right? It's serious and requires some effort on your part. So if you can't commit to it, then it's not the right time. It's not for you. I want to work with serious people who take their investing seriously and who are willing to put in the time to learn the system. So if you're serious about it and ready to do the work and get the results, the Options Paycheck course is perfect for you. You're going to get the entire course delivered live to you week to week. If you cannot do the live curriculum with us, not a big deal. Everything is recorded and archived for you, so you can watch it whenever you want to. All right? That has a value of $1,990. Now, I'm also going to throw in some bonuses to help you get started too. The first one, I call this the SPX Paycheck. For those of you that are working full-time and maybe not even working full-time, I take the Options Paycheck concept, bring it down to one trade. You're going to trade the S&P 500. One trade, one ticker symbol with one setup rule, one profit rule, and one stop criteria. Okay? It's simple and easy to do. This trade will take you 15 minutes a week. All right, that's it. That's all it's going to take. In fact, my teammate Brian taught this to his 14-year-old daughter at the time, and she was able to pull it off. I'm actually running an income challenge for this right now. This is Kathy from our Facebook group. Hey, in this week at 440, out at 215. Thanks, Ron. Another profitable week. One of our other customers, my SPX 4425, 4435 bear call credit spread came in 50% profit. This is, by the way, it was a couple weeks ago when we were actually selling the market before the change of trend occurred. Now we're doing bullish. Alan, thanks for the 5,500 this week, and the week's not over. He closed out 4 trades that week and made over $5,500 just trading the S&P 500 system. It's a great standalone system on its own and has averaged over its life 2 to 3% a year, or 2 to 3% a month, pardon me. Not a year, 2% is not great. 2 to 3% per month is what that system has averaged over the last decade. The cool thing is, I think, like I said, I'm on a 7-trade winning streak with the SPY or SPX. It's been down. I was doing bear calls, and then last week I switched to bullish trade because the market switched back up, and we've been having a nice little win streak going on. Now, I told you earlier it was a 7-module, 7-week course. I'm also going to give you what's called the mastery support sessions, and these are important. I don't want you to think that they're not. This is where we get together every week and we discuss the content. So I want to make sure that you are ready to implement this stuff. Make it work. That's what the idea is about. Walk you through assignments, making sure that you understand the material that we present week to week. Ready to implement. I'm going to give you 7 of those. Private Facebook community. I know not everybody likes Facebook. I certainly don't either. You can completely join our group anonymously with Joe Q Trader or Joan Q Trader if you want. That's up to you. But the nice thing about the Facebook community is you're going to be in there with other people doing the course. Okay, you get access to me, my team, and I also do 12 months of live Q&A sessions in there. Now, I talked about earlier that I told you that Tesla Trade and Goldman Sachs were in my coaching classes. Every week, I have coaching students that are part of my retirement group that I do this with. I set up live trades. Today I did like Home Depot, Nvidia, Lowe's I looked at, Netflix I looked at. We set up live trades every week in a group format where I trade a real account and we actually do this. So you're going to get 7 weeks access to that group coaching as one of our guests. Also, speaking of tools for speed and efficiency, I'm going to give you 7 weeks access to our tools. VectorVest is going to help us find stocks. Options Pro is going to help you find and select the options trades. This is going to dramatically reduce the time that you spend. Now, this is not mandatory, but it is really the best tools that were designed for this. Just so you guys know, I've been doing this now for almost 15 years. I've only had access to these tools for about 6. Okay? So I have a long history of doing these types of trades without these types of tools. This does make it easier. That's why I like to use them. But I will be teaching you things that you can apply to any piece of software that you want. Now, for those of you that are new at options, if you are really kind of saying, Ron, I've never done options before, I'm not 100% sure, I'm going to give you a streaming options foundation course. We're going to talk about the bare basics of calls and puts, buying and selling, and we're going to run you through the basics. That way, when the live curriculum starts, you can hit the ground running. In fact, the material in there is so good, a couple of our prior students actually started learning with that before the actual class started. Shun made 7 option trades, and he had 5 winners and 2 losers. Bobby made more money paid for half his course with the S&P before the course even started. Okay, so let me review the course, the offering. You're going to get the full options paycheck course, all right, plus 1 year access to all the materials, the S&P paycheck course, the 7 live mastery support sessions, the weekly coaching and trade recommendations, access to the tools of VectorVest and Options Pro, our Facebook group with 12 months of Q&A, and our Options Foundation course. Add that all up, it's like a $6,800 value. But here's what we're going to do. Here's the opportunity in front of you. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and work with a couple hundred people who are serious about generating income. If you want to be one of them, together we will create this income system in your portfolio even if you've never had success with options. Okay? Now you spent about an hour with me today. If you want to join me and have me take you by the hand and help you install this into your portfolio, then instead of the $6,000, it's going to cost you $995. You can go to www.optionspaycheck.com. There's a big orange register button. Hit that register button and you can sign up. Now, as you're doing that, I want to make it a little bit more enticing for you. Since you spent the last hour and about 8 minutes with me so far, I want to pay you for your time. I'm going to knock another $100 off of it and bring it down to $895. That way, for the hour you spent with me, I'll give you $100. Okay? You can sign up right now for $895. Now, that bonus only lasts until the Q&A session is over. The Q&A session can go 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. It just depends on the questions that come in at the end. So while we're broadcasting live, www.optionspaycheck.com it'll be $8.95. That is the lowest price, even lower than our elite pricing, that you will pay for this course as a first-time attendee. Okay? So ask yourself, how much is it costing you not to do this? How much opportunity or profit are you going to miss out by? How much money and time are you going to waste by learning by trial and error? And then again, ask yourself, how would things be different if you became Bruce or Brian or Mike or Jim? It's not too late. We're closing 2020 right now, 2021. We can get this implemented for you for 2022. It's not too late. You know, there's an old saying about planting an oak tree 20 years ago so you can be enjoying the shade now. Plant it today. That way in 10, 15, 20 years from now, you're not saying, darn it, I wish I would have started this 20 years ago. Okay? Don't make a bad decision. Don't regret it. Don't miss the opportunity. I really am looking forward to working with you in class. This is going to be one of those deciding days. Are you going to take action, set yourself up, or will it be the day you look back and say, darn it, I missed a good opportunity to create my income stream? So once again, go to www.optionspaycheck.com, get yourself registered before it closes, especially before the $8.95 price goes away. That's only available while we're live on the webinar. It's lower than our elite pricing. It's lower. It's the lowest price you will pay as a first-time attendee. So do me a favor. Let us know. Hey, Ron, I'm signing up. I'm in. Put a shout out to us in the chat window. I'm in. I want to welcome you to the class. I want to make sure you know what's coming next, but let us know. www.optionspaycheck.com. Click register in the upper right-hand button. Now, a couple of you have asked some good questions, and I want to hit some of those questions right off the bat. The big question you guys are asking is this. What are the live sessions, right? Good idea. We're teaching a live class. You probably want to know when it is. It's fair. And what if I miss one? Well, first off, the class starts next Thursday, the live portion of it, on November 4th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That is when we teach Module 1. Every week, we teach one of the modules. So Thursday, November 4th, we teach Module 1. Tuesday, November 9th, we teach Module 2. And then so on and so on and so on and so on. Okay? That course runs live through December. All those classes are at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you cannot make a live class, it is not a big deal. Probably 30% of our attendees don't ever actually attend the live course modules because of their work. It's not a big deal. Everything's recorded. You can submit questions via email, Facebook, all that stuff. So we've got you covered. All right, don't worry about if you can't view the live curriculum. You will still be able to learn to implement this. Now, the second part of the live curriculum is those mastery sessions. The first one is Monday, November 8th at noon Eastern Time. Then you can see we shift over to Friday, the 12th, the 19th, the 26th, etc. Those are all at noon Eastern Time. So wherever you see that green box, that's a mastery support session. Again, we record them. You can send me questions ahead of time. I'll answer them for you, put it in the recording. You can email us at our special email address. You can post on Facebook. There's a lot of ways that you can get a hold of us. One of our clients, Bruce, sent us a great message. He said, I now feel confident to start placing trades. I know how to monitor them, adjust them, and this is exactly what I wanted. I would absolutely recommend this course. It was designed in a very orderly and clear manner. It might be the best step-by-step course I've ever seen, and I've been teaching investing concepts for 35 years, so I think I'm a good judge. You know, I'd like to take credit for that, but I think of myself as a really good options trader. My colleague Brian, who was a former school teacher, combined, we put together, I think, a pretty good class. A lot of good options information, but then also presented in a good way that's educational. So I take not full credit for that. I take Brian, who you'll hear from in just a few minutes. He was a big part of how to put the course together, and so it's a good educational. Now, another question you guys have asked, well, Ron, I don't have a lot of experience. Am I going to be okay in this? Well, here's what we did. We actually polled our prior attendees, and this is what they said. 83% of them said that you can be successful with this with little to no prior options experience. 83%. Well, we weren't happy with that. So this is why we created the Option Foundation curriculum. We wanted to make sure that those other 17% still had a good chance of success. So we included the foundation curriculum. That way everybody can be brought up to speed. Okay? All right. So one time here, if you are interested in the course, www.optionspaycheck.com, big orange or whatever, gold register button in the right-hand corner. Click it. Price should be $8.95. Register today, and we'll start next Thursday live. So here's what I want to do. I want to bring in my colleague, Brian. Brian's been sitting in the background answering questions with some of my other colleagues, and we will do a formal Q&A session.
Hey, Ron.
Hey.
Lots of great feedback. We have people who are saying, man, I took this 4 to 5 years ago. I'd love to do it again. So we had a ton of those, which we really don't usually see that many, but it just stood out. We had people who've taken it years ago who want to get back involved. Maybe who knows what they've been doing in the past 4 years, but they wanted to get back into this. We got a lot of people who are asking questions, so we'll go through it. So great interaction. You had me, John, and Todd very busy in the chat box answering questions and responding to people. So a lot of excitement, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So Mr. Wheeler. Before I forget, I just saw somebody who just typed into the chat box, Todd, who wanted to know if he can get that checklist. And Todd, I think I happen to have it right here. So thank you very much, everybody, for sticking to the end. This checklist is not just one page. I'm going to put it in there we go. It usually takes a minute for it to appear on your end. Take a look at your handouts area in GoToWebinar. It's usually right above where you're typing to us. Just look right above where you're typing to us. There's a little handouts section. It is I think it's about 7 or so pages. The first bunch of pages is a great recap of a lot of the key principles that Ron talked about today for setting up the trade. And then the last page would be the checklist for the trade. So check that out, print it out. It's a nice colored booklet that you can have handy. So if you are in, it probably flew off my screen. Can you just type in "I'm in" into the chat box? For example, Carlo typed in "I'm subscribed." And Peter says, "I've registered." And so if you're in, you could just type in "I'm in." It makes it very simple to find your name in the list. Check your email, because in that email, a lot of your questions will be answered. Like, when are the dates?
Well, a warm welcome to today's
what
talk,
times?
Monday the 25th.
Can I get a link to the course? Can I get directions to get into the course? Which, by the way, you can get access tonight. You can get in there and start going through the things. There's the link to the Facebook group. Everything is in that email. So check it out, and check your junk or your spam folder, because sometimes it goes there. So I'm just seeing some names fly by. Let's see. Sridhar is in. David says, "I'm in," with a big exclamation point. Rick is in. Bhaskaran is in. Ian is in. Lewis is in. Awesome. Great to have you all in. And David, yes, you could use this for the SPX as well. So let's see. Mr. Wheeler, are you ready for some questions?
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Should I try and stump Ron today? Stump Ron with questions? So earlier you were talking about the dates and the times. That actually was the most popular question when we first started the Q&A period here. The one thing that did come up was, does somebody have to attend those? Like, I guess they're wondering, what if I miss a session?
Yeah, don't worry. We've completely planned for that. Everything that we do is archived, recorded. So, like I said, about 30% of the people that ultimately sign up for the options paycheck never actually even attend a live event. They just do it completely off of our archives and our recordings that are done live each week. So, no worries. You got everything out there for you that you can have. You can always kind of reach out to us, email, Facebook, to ask questions. You're going to be just fine.
All right. Now, there's another gentleman who was really pumped up. And so there's one thing, I love the excitement, but there was something that he said that I just wanted to restate, because it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. So, Ron, let me read you what he wrote, and I want to get your feedback on this to see it, just to make sure that we're setting him down the path to be successful. But you were showing the schedule, and you're showing how all of the live classes will pretty much be wrapped up by Christmas. And he had time. There it is. His name is Charles. And Charles said, "All right, we could be rich before Christmas." And I said, "Hey, remember, this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is, we like to stack a lot of small wins over time." But I wanted to, if you hear somebody come to you and they're like, "Hey, Ron, I'm going to take your class and I'm going to become rich," what are you going to say? What would you say to them?
Well, number one, I love the enthusiasm. That's the first thing. So keep the enthusiasm going. That's part of being, good traders, keeping the optimistic. is optimistic in that. The second thing is just remember that our goal is to make about 3% per month. There's going to be some months when you outperform that. There's going to be some months when you underperform that. So keep that in mind. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But remember, the ultimate goal is about 3%. So kind of know exactly where the expectations are at least. But keep the enthusiasm, please, because that's very important.
Yeah, definitely. And so speaking of that, Ron, like if somebody has that type of excitement, they're probably like, all right, well, when can I start to see results? Like if this isn't a get rich quick scheme, if I go through this, when can I start to see results?
And that's a great question. It's different for everybody, but once Module 6 is done, I would easily expect you to be able to start trading right away. And as long as you get into the market in a good time, listen, you can start seeing results right away in the first 30 days. So as long as you feel comfortable trading, you should start seeing results right away. Historically, with probability and risk reward, you should start seeing some results as soon as you start trading it.
All right. Next up, we had a few Canadians. We had basically they just, and this not just for Canadians, but I didn't see people asking from Australia or other countries, but mainly people from Canada wanted to know, can this system also work for them?
Yes, the system can work wherever you are. Now, I will tell you this, that the majority of our traders, the class is written based on U.S. options, just so you know. But the analytics that we teach, the concepts that we bring to the table, these are equal on any exchange that you trade options on, whether it's Toronto, Australia, Europe, London, what have you. The techniques and the concepts we use can be applied to any options market in the world. Now, one thing that you need to have to do this successfully is option liquidity. Most of the option liquidity is here in the US. There's less in Canada, but there is some. Less markets in Australia, less markets in London. But there are options that you can trade, but the opportunities may be less just because of the liquidity in other countries. But like I said, the majority of the people that are in the class trade US-based markets.
All right. And then one thing that we did learn, Ron, if they've got a retirement account in Canada, like RRSP account, we've heard that it cannot be done in that specific account, but
that is correct. And then like with the US with IRAs, most of your IRAs do support this. In fact, you saw a example of that in the class. Some IRAs, however, can't. You really got to call your broker just to verify. They may have to have you sign an extra risk form or something like that. We've had the experience that most IRAs here in the US can do this type of trading. They encourage it actually because it's limited risk. They like that.
All right. So next up, we've got some people wondering, all right, what size of an account do I need? And Ron and I always are hesitant on this one because you could actually do this with a really small account. Like we talked to somebody who had a $5,000 account. We didn't know it until after we were talking to him for an hour, and he was telling us how much he loved it and has been trading it for months and had great results. And then he's like, yeah, I started out with a $5,000 account. So Ron, when somebody comes to you and say, all right, what size account is needed? Maybe you can answer it by saying like, what is the minimum and maybe what is ideal? Like what do you recommend?
Okay, sure. Now I want to give you guys a real life example here. Over the past couple of months, I've been doing an income challenge with some of my students, and we've been trading the S&P. So what I've done is I set aside $5,000 in my account. I've traded one contract of the S&P, which is what you can trade if you have a $5,000 account. You can trade one contract of our S&P trade. Over the past 6 weeks, I've made $750. Okay? Over the past 6 weeks, I'm up about $750 in my $5,000 account. So that right there is really good results for me. I'm really, really happy with that. That is over 10% in about 6 weeks. That's perfect. So for those of you that have a $5,000 account, understand that you can trade a contract of the S&P. You can do it every week, and you can make a little bit of money, right? $700 over 6 weeks is not chicken scratch. It's a decent amount, right? Now, if you have $50,000, it's going to be a lot better. You can trade more things. You can trade 5 contracts of the S&P. You can trade 4 different stock trades. So listen, as long as you're reasonable with your expectations, right? One of the biggest problems that traders have, and that I think it's the marketing of a lot of things out there, people open up a $5,000 account and expect to make $5 grand a month. That sounds like me when I was 21 when I first started trading. It didn't quite work out that way. But listen, if you're okay with, okay, I have a $5,000 account, I made $200 in December. That's a good return for a $5,000 account. That's realistic, right? So you can do it with 5 grand. Now, I would say optimally, you probably want to have about 25 grand for optimal. That way you get a couple SPX trades off there. You can do some stock trading. You can kind of mix and match a little bit. And then on the high end of the spectrum, I would say that the system starts becoming harder and harder to implement, really at anything over about $400,000. And the reason why that is, and by the way, this is a big question that people ask me from time to time is, Ron, if you're so good at this, why aren't you trading for, Fidelity or, whoever? Because this type of trading limits out after a certain time. I can't trade 1,000 contracts of Microsoft options to do this. All right. But I can trade 10. I can trade 5. I can trade 15. So there is kind of a maximum that this thing does as well because of option liquidity. Hopefully that answered every question about money. That was a long one.
All right. Let me scroll back up because I know I missed a few. By the way, if you're in and I didn't see your name and you have and you want to let us know that you're in with into this group of students, let us know in the chat box. Just type in in.
I'm perpetually stuck in my college years, by the way, just so you guys know. I can write a 40-page letter on how to explain and how to spell cat. Really good at it.
Let's see, Ron, there's a few very specific questions. Now, Dan, you're actually a former student. So you're asking a very specific question about the course and trade setup. Since you're a former student, you can actually send an email to that private email address we gave you. Even though you took the course years ago, you could send an email and we could help you out.
Just make sure you told us when you took the course.
Yeah, let us. Yeah, exactly, because we might have. Otherwise, Ron might say, "Hey, stay tuned for Module 6." And so, let us know. Hey, I took the course in 2017. Blah blah blah. So, speaking of that, Ron, with Dan being able to get help even now, years later, maybe we should talk about that with everybody. Maybe talk about not only the Paycheck student group, but the Paycheck alumni group, and maybe what you do every month, and the support that we give through a private email address. So maybe you could just talk a lot about the support people get as students.
Sure. Well, number one, you're going to get a private email that comes to me and my staff that know all of the options Paycheck stuff. All right. So you'll always have access to that. In fact, I was answering questions today from somebody that took the class back in 2016. You always have access to that, and you're more than welcome to send me questions to kind of keep pace on things. Now, I did mention that we have that Facebook group. And again, I know that not everybody likes Facebook, but I would encourage you to get an email. Maybe it's Gmail, maybe it's Proton Mail, maybe it's whatever mail, right? Create a name. Joe Q Trader, Joan Q Trader, Mary Jane Trader, doesn't matter. Get on Facebook, get on that forum. Because like Brian said, every month, at least for the next year for you, I do a Q&A session. Okay, so for example, I think it's this Wednesday actually is my monthly Q&A for Facebook. I'll get on there on Wednesday, I think Wednesday morning, and we will have just a session just to keep everybody on pace. It's an opportunity for you to ask me questions. I'll talk about updated trade results that I have just to kind of show you how the system's working for us in the retirement group. But it's just a way for all of us to keep on track. I want to make sure that you're continually implementing and you always got that person looking over your shoulder when you need it.
I think that's awesome. You give a ton of live webinars during the next 2 months, basically.
Right.
But then there's another 12 months after that where they could hit you up each month as they're going through the course. So there's no rush. People can take their time, and they always got you to lean on, and thousands of other people are in that group that can help them with the questions they might have.
Yeah, a lot of times I go into the Facebook group and say, "Yep, I agree." Because by the time I get there, other people have already answered the questions for me.
Yeah, if you think about it, a lot of the people that Ron is showing today as case studies and students who've done well, a lot of them are in that group. So you can lean on their expertise as well. All right. Quick reminder: this $8.95 price does go away as soon as we're done, and we've got, depending on how many questions, we may have 5 minutes or so before we wrap things up for tonight, and then it goes back up to $9.95, and that $9.95 will only be there for like a week, and then the price actually goes up. But then registration closes next week, right, for good, right? So we're not opening up registration again before the end of this year. It's going to be sometime next year before this happens again. So if you think about that, take this class now, and you'll be ready for the beginning of 2022 with, ready to generate income. And like Ron said, he's going through an income challenge with some people right now, and they've had like 7 weeks in a row of winners, which is great to have. And with a really small account, what'd you say, Ron? $700 with a smaller account.
Right.
All right, so let's see, Ron. We had a question from Bhaskaran. I tried to answer him earlier in the chat. Maybe you didn't see my response, but I'll just ask you, have you address it, because I'm sure maybe there's some people who fear this when they're thinking about option trades. He says, what if the stock drops overnight by like 30 or 50%? Is this class going to help me?
Definitely. Well, number one, I can tell you this. I've only experienced that one time in 15 years. And I can tell you exactly what it was. It was BIB, Biogen. It happened when they early withdrew an Alzheimer's drug trial. That is the only time I have ever seen that happen. One time with BIB. Okay? So how did I fix that? I stopped trading biotech stocks because they gap too much like that. Now, can stocks gap? Of course they can. We just exit the trade if they gap too much. Now, because of the risk profile of this, you're never going to suffer a catastrophic loss. Even that BIB trade was not a catastrophic loss. Yes, it lost more than we wanted to lose, but it was still not catastrophic. It wasn't bad. Now, the second thing, the only time you really see things like that are also on earnings events. Earnings can completely do that to a stock. We don't hold our trades over earnings events, so that's kind of limits that out as well. So a lot of our trade selection would get out of, and we wouldn't even trade stocks that have a history of doing that. So it's not something we see very, very often. Like I said, the biggest loss I've ever seen was that BIB trade a couple of years ago. That's the most that's ever happened to me. And, it just doesn't happen very often. Once in 15 years.
All right. Now, folks, if you have a question that we did not get to, it probably scrolled off my screen, and just type it back into the box. If it's something where you're like, oh man, I'm thinking about this course, I don't know if it's right for me, I really need to ask this question, just if you've already typed it in, just go find it and copy it and paste it, and we'll take care of it. All right, so there's a couple that I see here from Bhaskaran. Wanted to know if you could show the schedule again.
Sure. Bear with me just a second on that. I have to get to the right screen. Oops, that's not the right screen. This is the right screen. All right, so there is your live course modules. Again, the live curriculum starts Thursday, November 4th, next Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's where we teach Module 1. Then we shift to Tuesday, November 9th. We teach Module 2 at 4:30 Eastern Time p.m. Module 3 on the 16th, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Module 4 on the 23rd, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Module 5, the 30th, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Module 6, December 7th, Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Module 7 on the 14th of December, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Those are the live modules. And then, as I said, every week we do what's called a mastery session to make sure that you understand all the curriculum in each module. The Module 1 mastery is Monday, November 8th at noon. Then, as you can see, we go to Fridays for the rest of the class. Module 2 mastery at noon on the 12th of November. 3 on the 19th of November at noon. 4 on the 26th of November at noon. 5 on the 3rd of December at noon. 10th is the 6th class on December at noon. And then the 17th is also noon Eastern Time. That's for Module 7. Whew, that was a mouthful.
Beautiful. All right. So, Matt, welcome aboard. Great to have you with us. And Peter, welcome aboard. Great to have you in class. So we had a couple more questions from Don and Randy and Lawrence. Looks like I'm going to grab that one as well. And Oh, quick reminder, everybody. As soon as you sign up, I mean, you could start going through the course now, right? You can start going through it tonight. All the recordings are there. You can even listen to the mastery sessions that Ron did with his last class and go through all that, time permitting for you, of course. Go through the tests, go through the homework assignments. Now, the bonus of that extra software that Ron mentioned, that'll become active the first day of class. So some of the homework you might not be able to do until class begins, but there's a whole bunch you can do. And you could start to write down some questions. That way, when Ron starts those live sessions, hearing it a second time, you might get the answer to your question, but you can also then ask your question during the Q&A period. All right. So next up, there's a question here from Don. It's a specific trading question. He says, what's the value of the average combo options trade?
There really isn't, I would say, an average. I guess if you forced me to say the average, I'd say probably about $150 to $200, depending on, what you're trading. That's usually pretty average. I'd say $150 to $200 per contract.
All right. And Bhaskaran, you're asking for a PDF of the dates and the times. After you sign up, you'll get an email with all the dates and the times, and there's also a little, so you could just print that out. It'll have all the info that you need. All right, so Lawrence, you've been very patient, and Randy, you've been very patient as well. So let me go to Lawrence. There's another very specific question for you, Ron. Lawrence says, I like selling puts at the money, out 1 to 2 months. If assigned, I sell calls, but only on stocks under $100 that have low volatility and unusual events that I want to own. Isn't this simpler and less subject to entry errors? I'm not sure if that gave you enough, or if that was too. Did you need more information from Lawrence, or do you have enough to go on?
No, not really. Is it simpler? Well, I don't want to say it's simpler. I would say it's kind of similar. The nice thing is with this, you never have to worry about owning the stock. That's nice. It's also a lot cheaper. A lot of people can't go out there and sell naked puts because it's very expensive, and you have to have a lot of trading experience usually to do that. So I don't want to say it's simpler, but there's nothing wrong with the concept of what you're doing for sure. This, I think, actually is a little bit simpler because it's less involved to get into. You don't have to worry about then trying to convert stock purchases into a covered call situation. So I like to think that this is more simple because it goes up or it goes down, you get stopped out, you make money. Like I said, I don't want to say that's a bad idea. A lot of my clients do that. They call it the wheel trade. But, it's just, 6, half dozen. It's just a different way of doing things.
Yep, requires more margin, a little bit bigger of an account, selling naked puts, right? Randy's, this looks to be the last one, Ron. Maybe there's another one just snuck in from Al. Al, you snuck in. So let's see. Randy says, if you did a bull put spread today on the SPX, what would be the short strike?
That is a good question because I did one this morning. I did actually a couple of them this morning. I ended up doing one at, let's see. Give me a second. Is that it right there? Yeah. I did it at 43.80. So 43.80 was what the put I sold this morning. And just so you know, the market's at 45.63. So I ended up doing a 43.80. So I'm quite a bit behind the market, if you will. A lot of room for error on that one.
Yep. And Al, I'm going to have John reply to you in the chat. You could also call our team, and they could help you out with your question. Todd, to answer your question, we did that earlier, but we did a thing called the income challenge, but we're not currently running that. We did that a few months ago. I don't remember how many months ago, but we did that some time ago, but we're not running that right now. And I don't even know. We only did it once all year, so we'll see. And Jane says, I'm signed up. Fabulous, Jane. I'm glad we got that worked out. I know you had to give the office a call, so thank you for letting us know that you got signed up. All right, so folks, with that, I'm going to say we look forward to having you in class. I'm going to turn it over to Ron in just a second, but we are all excited. We got an entire team, a team within the team here at VectorVest. So we got the ultimate retirement team, the options paycheck team, basically here to help you. We see how it basically helps people change their lives, like alter their financial future. And you saw a lot of examples today. And we're excited that you're on board. Hopefully you'll be the next person that is in one of these webinars with your smiling face up on the screen, telling everybody about your successes. But you got to do the work, right? You got to do the work. You actually got to do it. It's not going to be like the government where we're just going to send you checks every week. You actually got to do something. But if you do it, you'll see results. You got a great teacher with Ron Wheeler. And speaking of him, I'm going to pass it over to Ron so he could wrap things up for the night.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian, and thank you to all my colleagues who are in the background who had helped me with the class today and all the questions. I just want to say my one final farewell to everybody. It's been great having you with me for this last hour and 40 minutes now with all the questions. So hopefully you got exactly what you needed. Remember, if you're interested, a lot of you are in, so I do look forward to talking with you really over the next 2 months. We're going to have a great 2 months together to close out the year, get you set for 2022. Go to www.optionspaycheck.com, big orange register button, get yourself signed up, and I will see all of you next month in November where I will implement a great options income system into your portfolio. So thanks, everybody. Have a great evening and best of success to you in the future. Take care, everyone.